Nur Shakira binti Muhammad Norizan. My matric number is 2019272652.
My name is Nur Fatia binti Muhammad Yunus, 2019285232.
My name is Nurul Shafina binti Burhan and my matric number is 2019286668.
My name is Muaz bin Mustafa. My matric number is 2019291986.
My name is Nur Fatiha binti Muhammad Kuzaini. My student ID is 2019233274.
My name is Muhammad Usama Ziad bin Muhammad Taufiq Azad. My matrix number is 2019262882.
Islamic banking, also known as Islamic finance and Sharia compliant finance, where it refers to financial activities that adhere to Sharia, the Islamic law. In addition, the Islamic banking is rapidly grow in many countries due to the rising economies in Muslim countries. In Muslim banking, they hold on two principles, which are the sharing of profit and loss, and the second one is the prohibition of the collection and payment of interest by lenders and investors. Other than that, the Islamic finance made profit through the equity participation, which requires a borrower to give the bank a share in their profits rather than paying interest.
Public awareness is the public level of understanding about the importance and implication of some program or an activity. Increasing public knowledge is not the same as telling people what they should do. It is the process of clarifying topics and spreading information so that individuals can make their own decisions. Lack of awareness has been identified as a major challenge for Islamic banking in the United Kingdom, where British Muslims are largely unaware of Sharia offerings and do not properly understand the true essence of Islamic banking or its product. According to Kabari 204, there are two key reasons for this lack of awareness and participation. To begin with, understanding of Islamic banking concept is still in its early phase, with the bulk of potential customers having no prior knowledge of it. To put in another way, they are completely unfamiliar with Islamic banking concept. Second, both Muslim and non-Muslim having less detailed understanding of how the conventional banking system works and are comfortable with its product and services. Training of banking professionals is a second issue of Islamic banking in United Kingdom. Most professional banking courses and training are focused towards conventional banking rather than Islamic banking. Furthermore, in reality, the number of institutions that provide training for Islamic banking is limited. Hence, a shortage of qualified staff has resulted from the lack of professional courses and training tailored to the Islamic banking. As a result of scarcity of trained staff, Islamic bank has resorted to the best alternative, where hiring staff from conventional banks. Since the concept of two systems are vastly different, it is not strange if such staff struggle to adapt to the Islamic banking system. However, the lack of banking professionals lead to slow innovation of Islamic banking products and instruments. In addition, the lack of banking professionals also affects the relationship with the central bank due to the inability to clarify and explain various issues to them, according to the CAF 1999.
For issue number 3, Islamic banking is lacking in terms of standardization or uniformity. The most major concern with the Islamic financial system is that individuals are unsure of what Islamic banking is. Muslim scholars are the individuals that are responsible for interpreting Islamic Sharia concepts. Thus, every Islamic bank hires an Islamic Sharia committee whose responsibility it is to determine if its bank transactions and operations are in compliance with Islamic Sharia. And these committees produce a number of different interpretations and judgments. Hence, in many countries and Islamic committees, several interpretations have been created. For instance, different perspectives argue over whether riba and interest are the same thing. The fact that Muslim scholars argue about such fundamental inquiries demonstrates the field's lack of standardization of perspective. Lack of standardization not only wastes time and money, but it also causes a misunderstanding about what Islamic banking entails, thus restricting its broad acceptance. This issue makes it hard for authorities in Western nations such as United Kingdom to acknowledge the concept of Islamic banking, and turns out to make Western authorities more reluctant to provide Islamic banks with license. Here we can say that standardization is designed to describe and specify Islamic banking's operation and may pave the way for more consistent regulation, allowing Islamic banking to be identified as a credible competitor to conventional banking. Issue number 4 regarding the legislation and regulation of Islamic banks. The current legal framework is another significant issue affecting the growth of Islamic banks. The Islamic banking system is still in its early stages, and regulatory and supervisory approaches to support Islamic banks have yet to be created. Lack of awareness, along with the lack of regulation, creates issue between Islamic banks and regulators, affecting the regulators' readiness to assist such institutions. In the United Kingdom, their regulators have strict requirements on banking operations and are likely hesitant to provide a banking license to institutions that not safeguard their clients' savings. They believe that a bank is an institution that can safeguard deposit and pay a specified return on those deposits. We can see here that assumptions that Islamic banks' incapacity to safeguard deposits or returns makes it very hard for the Bank of England to accept them as a banking institution. For your information, throughout the 1980s, Al-Barakah was the only Islamic bank to exist in the UK as a legitimate deposit-taking institution. However, Al-Barakah, on the other hand, is no longer regulated deposit-taking institutions in the United Kingdom after giving up its license in 1993 due to regulatory pressure. However, as for now, there are a number of Islamic banks in the UK, such as Islamic Bank of Britain, Qatar Islamic Bank, European Islamic Investment Bank, and many more.
On the 1988, the Financial Service Authority have been open to the development of Islamic finance in the UK. The Governor, Lord Edward George, gave a speech in a conference as he recognized the growing importance of Islamic banking in the Muslim world and its emergence on the international stage. However, in 2001, the Muslim community and FSA had collaborated and identified barriers of Islamic finance in the UK, and one of them was the Islamic mortgage attracted double stamp duty on the purchase of the property by the bank and the transfer of the property by the bank at the end of the mortgage term. In another conference, the chairman of the FSA, Sir Howard Davies, has raised the awareness among public by saying that there are no objections in principle to the idea of an Islamic bank in the UK as it meets the FSA's regulatory requirements.
As we all know, training of professional banking has also been one of the big challenges to Islamic banking near UK in the past, but now it's getting better and improving a bit. In the 1980s to nearly 2000s, UK authorities have given not much support and consequently resulting in the momentum of Islamic finance growth being stunned and experiencing a long pause in the between. Now, since robust support from the working group, regulators and UK government have been formed, it has created the working and market environment between Islamic bank and their customers more convenient and are being treated no differently from conventional counterparties. Nevertheless, there is still need for them to educate the Muslim community toward Islamic financial products and service, and the communities in the Islamic banking institution also have to work hard to improve the system in the Islamic banking and finance. But I think the back problem back in the 1980s and still to some extent today is that the people were employed on the basis of their knowledge of Islamic banking rather than telling a good deal from a bad deal.
Okay, next for standardization. The standardization project is a legitimate endeavor intended to make standard structures for the early overall set of laws. The essential standard is clear that they are in opposition to Islamic law in create cash and abundance called to be amassed from exchange and responsibility for resources. Last, the central point of interest here is that Sharia Council or boards in Islamic banking are individuals who are actually responsible in determining what is right and wrong in Islamic banking.
Legislation and regulation. The long history of the conventional banking system resulted in effective regulatory and supervisory bodies. Since the Islamic banking system has only recently emerged, regulatory and supervisory techniques have not yet been developed to accommodate Islamic banks. One of the major problems facing the development of Islamic banks is the current legal structure. Lack of understanding coupled with lack of regulation cause tension between Islamic banks and regulators, which in turn affects the regulators' willingness to support such organizations. Regulators in Western societies are reluctant to grant a banking license to institutions that cannot guarantee customers' deposit. The regulatory bodies in the UK also tend to hold very strict policies on their banking practice. They stand firm on their definitions of a bank as an institution that can guarantee deposits and provide a declared return on them.
There are few recommendations that can be made based on the issue that has been stated by Shakira and Shafina earlier. One of them is to promote Islamic banking product via several platforms. There are many relative potential of various methods of increasing awareness in Islamic banking. Two ways that can be used, either online or offline. There can establish a special team such as a promoter to spread awareness about Islamic banking and promote using posters, social media and also mass media. The second recommendation is to provide knowledge and training. It's important to provide knowledge and training, especially to those who want to participate in Islamic banking agencies. This is to increase understandings and skill of employees of Islamic banking so that they can organize well and also when interacting with customers.
Discuss about legislation and regulation matters. Islamic banking representatives and UK officials need to sit together and openly discuss the matter to work out a practical solutions. A possible solution within current circumstances is to function effectively under different yet comprehensive regulation. It must be remembered that regulators do not make the rules, people's representatives make the rules. Unless the UK Islamic community stands united in demanding for their rights for financial services and making an attempt to change regulations, things will remain the same.
Okay, next, for the conclusion, they have the great sides, which is they can enter the money market and figure out how to possess an exceptional spot on the planet venture measure. Next, this is on the grounds that Islamic account dependent on the standard of trust, regard hazard dissemination, responsibility consistent, and reasonable benefit convenience. It is to guarantee the premium of Islamic banks in the final product of their activities in contrast to regular banks, which center just around procuring their own. Last but not least, it is sustainable banking brings benefit to its customer. Islamic banks use the concept which the transaction should not just Sharia compliant but also contribute and sustainable to the economy, community and environment without compromising the financial returns to shareholders. That's all from us. Thank you.